If you've ever thought about moving to Seattle, many people relocate here from California or other areas, and they want to know where to live. Well, today we're talking about one of the most desirable neighborhoods here, Queen Anne.
And we looked in California, and what we found was that the commute into the city was pretty lengthy. We started to think a little more and said, hey, you know what? Seattle actually offers a lot of those things that we want. Being able to walk to a game and be able to walk home, a concert and be able to walk home is pretty amazing.
Queen Anne has energy, but not like you're in the suburbs.
There's still just enough edge to it, just enough of the city environment that you're not out in the suburbs. The joke sometimes is like, don't have a reason to leave the hill. I'll realize sometimes like, man, I've gone like 6-7 days without leaving Queen Anne.
Queen Anne's location right next to downtown Seattle. It is the highest price per square foot on average of any Seattle neighborhood. We're looking at like 1.4 million or so as now the median price, and it goes way up from there.
Just to speak plainly, like this is not an inexpensive area to move into, right? But there's a lot of good reasons for it because it is coveted.
Welcome to another episode of Seattle Living and Wealth Building. You guys are going to love this show. So first of all, it's going to be the best location we've ever shot at. So that's the number one reason you want to watch. Number two, if you've ever thought about moving to Seattle, many people relocate here from California or other areas, and they want to know where to live. Well, today we're talking about Queen Anne, one of the most desirable neighborhoods here, and you're going to learn from a guy like myself who actually raised his daughter in Queen Anne, and now she's 25. Yes, she is 25. And then you're going to learn from my buddy Chris, who came here from San Francisco, previously lived in the area. He's worked at Microsoft, Zillow, Amazon, so he is an awesome guy who's going to tell you what it's like to move back here and raise his family in the Queen Anne neighborhood. And then we've got Michael here, who has lived everywhere around Seattle but Queen Anne, but knows it really well.
Yeah. I got plans for it, but not right now. Yeah.
You've got some inside knowledge here, and you'll learn, the different parts about Queen Anne and whether it's a great place to live for you or whether it's not the right fit. So first of all, Chris, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Maynard. Excited to chat.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so give us some background for the audience, just so they know you're a little bit of a history, and let's learn about you.
Yeah, sure. A little bit about me. I grew up on the East Coast in and around Philadelphia. I lived in New Jersey and Philadelphia for a lot of my life. Came out west here in 2008 to Seattle and lived in Capitol Hill. I lived in Belltown and South Lake Union, and then moved down to San Francisco. Met my then girlfriend, now wife, here, and then we moved down to San Francisco, lived there for 7 years, and decided to come back to Seattle as we were starting our family. And we've been back in Seattle since 2009. I'm sorry, 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you've experienced a lot of, different time periods, right, of Seattle or the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Right. And then somehow you came back. Yeah. Tell us why, you came back and, why Queen Anne in particular.
Yeah. I mean, it's an absolutely great neighborhood. So the story was we were living in San Francisco. We had a great place down there that was, very historical, had all the period appropriate detail, very, beautiful San Francisco condo, but it wasn't very big. And we were neighbors on all sides, not much of a yard and, not much of an area outside at all. So we wanted to expand. We had the second baby on the way, and it was time to move into something that was a little bigger. And we looked in California, and we looked, in North Bay and kind of the marine area. We looked out east into like Orinda and Walnut Creek, and then we looked south down in the peninsula. And what we found was that this was pre-pandemic. The commute into the city was pretty lengthy. These places were not really close to the city, and we like to be close to a city and be a part of some of that vibrancy that is, a city, and have access to all the things that the city lets us enjoy, but wanted a little bit more of a comfortable living situation. So we started to think a little more and said, hey, you know what? Seattle actually offers a lot of those things that we want. So we came back up here to Seattle to shop and looked at a bunch of the neighborhoods here in Seattle that do have single-family homes and a little bit of living space, and ended up settling on Queen Anne. It just had everything that we wanted, central accessibility to everything in the city, really great neighborhood, really great neighbors, great schools, great parks, and really almost felt like a mini suburb inside of a larger city, which has been really great to live in.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the interesting thing too, right, Chris, is that you actually rented a place here for a little bit to test drive the waters.
That's right. That's right. About 6 months before we made the commitment to move back up to Seattle, we rented a place in Queen Anne for like 4 days, 5 days, and really got a feel for the neighborhood. And that was enough to really win us over. We got a chance to go to some of the parks, and of course it was summertime, so it was very beautiful up here. And the views from the top of the hill were pretty amazing. So, we knew of Queen Anne from living here before, so it wasn't completely foreign to us, but that really sealed the deal for us in terms of this being the right neighborhood.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it's different, like, when somebody is going to stay in a neighborhood where they're thinking, okay, am I going to live here? Versus, visiting or being at, their friend's house or something. So I think it's smart that you did that because then you can kind of go, okay, could I actually be here? Like you were familiar with the area, but, when you actually go, okay, I can make a decision to buy here, it's a little different. But it's not really that surprising that if you like San Fran, that you chose Queen Anne. Because I think out of a lot of neighborhoods in Seattle, like Seattle's kind of a big little city in a way. Yeah. That Queen Anne is probably the most, familiar comparative to San Francisco. But, just by kind of just the style, the neighborhood feel, the hills.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there is a lot of similarities for sure. I think one of the big differences for us is just the space that you get. And the fact you can get a single family home and be inside the city and not have shared walls or, be in a duplex or a triplex or what have you. That alone was a pretty big, change for us from San Francisco anyway. I think that evolution of moving to more of a spacious environment that has more of a family orientation, it also felt like folks were a little bit more planted here. San Francisco felt very transient. People lived there for a period of time. They usually leave. A lot of our friends were leaving. As soon as you have kids, it seemed like, you were kind of out of the city one way or another. And a lot of times that meant the California suburbs. But again, like I was saying, they're not close necessarily. And, you're still driving a good distance if you have to commute into the city for work. And they're their own communities. They're not really necessarily part of the city. They're a whole different town, whole different neighborhood. So what we loved about Seattle is you got some of the benefits of being in a little bit more spacious area and having a little bit more of a suburban lifestyle, but still being in the city. I mean, we can walk down to Fremont, we can walk down to Lower Queen Anne, we can very easily commute to anywhere we need to go. We've even walked to sports games at not Key Arena, but Climate Pledge. Thank you. Should know the name of this by now. Key Arena. Dating myself.
I'd say it'll always be Key Arena too. The Sonic's Key Arena.
But being able to walk to a game and be able to walk home, a concert and be able to walk home is pretty amazing. So, I love that we have access to all the city activities and city energy, but still have kind of our enclave here that's a little bit more of a family lifestyle. It's been great.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when it comes to real estate, because of Queen Anne's location right next to downtown Seattle, it is the most highest price per square foot on average of any Seattle neighborhood, when you compare it to even like Capitol Hill. And so it makes sense that a lot of people want to live here because of the proximity to everything. So let's talk about, you've probably been around the Seattle area, and let's talk about what the lifestyle is like for you as somebody, raising your kids. So I think that's a lot of people love to come here because there's highly rated elementary schools. Like you said, it feels like safe, right? Compared to maybe some other areas where there's a little bit more of a mixed bag, and you can walk to like Trader Joe's and all the things that are awesome about Queen Anne Ave, right? Coffee shops, restaurants, it almost feels like that is stroller central sometimes. So, let's talk about what the vibe is like, right? And, just for anybody who wants to really get and understand what Queen Anne is like.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the time of day and exactly where you're hanging out. But no doubt there are families and strollers and young kids up here. But there's also a mix. I think there's also people who are in their 20s and 30s that, want to live in the city but want a little more of a calm environment and, kind of like more of the family orientation maybe planning to have a family at some point. So it's really great for folks in that era of life as well. But the vibe in general, I think it does lean a little more family oriented, I think, in general, which, we at this stage of life really appreciate and welcome. But it definitely still feels like the city. You know, there's still just enough edge to it. You know, just enough of a city environment that you know, you're not out in the suburbs. You're not, you know, miles and miles away from you know, kind of the center of the action, if you will. So that part about it's great. But the parks and the playgrounds and all of the, you know, kind of community orientation here, I think is really lovely. You know, we'll walk our kids to the library frequently, and, you know, go to the public library here, which is great. We'll walk to a lot of the shops and restaurants on Queen Anne regularly, which is great. And then there's just a plethora of parks around here. And also some good running routes. You also see a lot of people running here in Queen Anne. It seems to be like the hobby of choice.
Okay, with hills and everything.
With hills, yeah. You know, I'll tell you, I'm a little bit of a runner. My wife is much more of the runner in the family. But there's a pretty good route here that you can get around the crown of Queen Anne without doing too many hills. It's not zero, but not too many. You don't have to go all the way down, all the way up.
So that makes sense. The crown of Queen Anne, right? So for everybody who doesn't know, we're in this upper part of Queen Anne, and we call it top of Queen Anne, top of the hill, right? So it's just some of the nicknames. And then you've got lower Queen Anne, where it is Climate Pledge Arena, condos, restaurants. We've got Seattle Center, the Space Needle.
Much
so
different,
this is a much more like residential area, right? That's what we're talking about now. And then we'll also touch on maybe North Queen Anne versus West Queen Anne as well.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Like Upper Queen Anne, you know, like growing up here, we used to just call it Upper Queen Anne, Lower Queen Anne. Now, like Lower Queen Anne, it's called Uptown, which is kind of confusing because it's, you know, north of
the city
downtown,
is trying to
right?
force these names on us, but
it's still like Lower Queen Anne. But Lower Queen Anne is where you've got a lot more like condominiums, apartments, still some single-family houses. But, you know, if you've never been to this area, Upper Queen Anne isn't, you know, just one big, you know, hilly area. It's on the top of a big hill, but the running route makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then you go down this really steep hill, and then you go down into Lower Queen Anne or Uptown, and that's where you get more like bars, restaurants, all that stuff like that. So, you know, you can be like segmented it even in lifestyle, you know, in the same neighborhood technically, right?
Yeah.
Like 30 and under, I'm in Lower Queen Anne for sure. Over 30, I want to be in.
Yeah, on average, right? That's probably true. 100%.
Yeah. I think there is a little bit of age segmentation in the two neighborhoods, and no matter which direction you go, it is a giant hill that is worth noting. And I mean giant,
steep.
like
it's very steep.
occasionally when it's snowed enough here to actually accumulate on the ground, the hill right out front of our house, actually all the way down to Fremont, becomes like a ski slope.
Oh yeah,
and it's
So do they close it off? And are people skiing on it?
Yeah. I've only seen it like twice since we've been here the last 6 years. But yeah, the 1 year in particular, I mean, it was like a full blue run from top to bottom. I mean, it's pretty solid, you know? Somebody be able to jump halfway down it as well.
Put some moguls in
Just
there.
a solid blue square, everybody. So totally manageable, doable.
That's right. It's doable. But the hills are serious here. We joke sometimes if we go down to Fremont for a drink and we walk back up to our house, we call it Buzzkill Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got to climb, you know, all the way back up to the top. It's like going on a hike after a few drinks. It definitely sober you up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. In my younger days, I remember a friend who said, I don't understand why I always lose my buzz, like hopping from one bar to another. I'm like, because I took a taxi and you walked.
That's it.
So
That'll do it.
it makes perfect sense. I think one thing that hasn't changed, I raised my daughter here when she was like 5 to 9, and that was at elementary school days, right? And she went to John Hay Elementary. So some of the top rated public schools in Queen Anne are a big reason people want to move here, right? And that often drives the price of real estate, is that when the public schools are accessible and highly rated, and then the safety rating of the neighborhood is really strong, that's what drives the price of real estate.
Yeah.
So up here in the hill, we're looking at like 1.4 million or so as the median price of a single family home, right? And it goes way up from there, right? So it's definitely harder to get a little bit of a starter home. We've seen some townhomes come up in the area now, not too many, but that, you can get into those for a cool 900 or so.
Right.
If you're on the top of the hill. But it is really safe, and a big reason again is the schools are really strong. You're kind of up here, so it's hard to get up here. So, riff raff, however you define it, right? That might be in the other areas of like downtown Seattle. They got to hike all the way up the hill to get up here. So you probably can have some petty petty crime still up here, but do you see many, like, I don't know, homeless people or things like that, just to be real? Right?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And you mentioned petty crime. And, I think that is still just an awareness you have to have. We still are in a major city. We're not way out in a rural community in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, I mean, if you leave your garage wide open or your car windows down, like, yeah, you could expect somebody might snag something. But as long as you're reasonable and you lock your doors at night, I have had no issue. I haven't heard of many issues. I don't think it's a real challenge. I think it's more opportunistic. Like if you just leave stuff out, I think that's really the only time it's a real concern. But otherwise, the neighborhood feels completely safe. I mean, there's one bus stop in the middle of the neighborhood where occasionally, somebody will get off that, maybe experiencing homelessness or not doing great, but it's not a big deal. They're there, they hang out, they leave. I mean, it's definitely not an issue. Definitely not, something that has any level of concern for us or anybody who lives here. I mean, it feels very safe. It feels like a suburb, basically.
That's pretty incredible. Like, what an appeal, right? To live this close to downtown Seattle and, Amazon and name any other big tech company you want, Google, right? Apple, so whatever they are, but you're somehow in this neighborhood that feels like a suburb.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, like, there's like on Queen Anne, like you've got grocery stores, a couple restaurants, a couple bars, a couple shops, but it's not like this big, like there's not a ton of retail, a ton of commerce, ton of stuff up here. So I think being it mostly residential, there's not going to be a lot of activity or opportunity for people, that are kind of loitering or anything like that, where you mentioned you had lived down in Belltown at some point. Belltown's much different. I used to work at Belltown, right? I love Belltown, but it's a much different environment. If I'm, on this street at midnight, I'm going to probably not see many people. In Belltown, I'm going to see, 1,000 people.
That's
which is great, depending on what you're trying to do. But, I think, the proximity is minutes away from each other, but it's much, much different, lifestyle. For sure.
Yeah, people are often trying to figure out what the right neighborhood is for them, and I have lots of clients who think about Queen Anne and they think about Magnolia. So some of the different things are, the similarities are a lot of families in both neighborhoods, highly rated schools in both neighborhoods, tons of parks in both neighborhoods. But Magnolia can be a little bit sleepy. Like people have used the word sleepy to describe Magnolia, right? Because there's not as much with respect to restaurants and coffee shops. The vibe is not as big. And, that was one of the reasons I moved from Magnolia to Capitol Hill once Isabella became, 19 and full-time in college, right? So that was a lifestyle change for me. And when you say, I think Queen Anne has energy, but not like you're in the suburbs, I think that's a really good description. Right? Because there's action going on, there's things to do, there's bars, there's a couple, I think I don't know, I wouldn't call it like cocktail bars that have kind of showed up here in the top
there's a
of
few,
Queen Anne, as well, so that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And there's no shortage of things to do up here. And it does cater, I think, a little bit older, like maybe over 30 is maybe roughly the distinguishment they make there. And even older than that. There's people who have been up here for, 30 years or whatever and still like to go out every once in a while. But there's a couple great restaurants. There's a couple great coffee shops. Cafe Hagen's great. Even the Starbucks up here is really nice. There's a new Salt and Straw that's opening, ice cream, fancy ice cream shop. So that's people freak out. That's coming soon. Grappa's really nice as well. And then we take the kids to Zeke's a lot, which is, pizza shop, but a really great pizza shop up here. And then there are a couple bars. There's Hilltop, and then around the corner over more towards like 5th and McGraw over towards Coe Elementary. There's a few places over there. There's a new cocktail place or wine bar called Miriam's, and then there's a brewery that just opened up there as well, like a smaller brewery.
That's awesome. Right at that little spot, right? There's like a hardware store there.
That's right, by Ken's Market and whatnot. So that's all walkable. I mean, that's the thing we love is we really love to walk around the neighborhood, and you'll get some steps in doing it. Now everything's right next to each other, but there are like almost 3 little distinct kind of areas. There's the main drag. There's that area over by Coe and Ken's and the hardware store. And then there's the other area over on Gaylor that has Via Tribunali and the donut shop.
Molly Moon's.
Molly Moon's, yes.
There's that great butcher shop right there too.
That's right.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that's at the top of the hill,
Yeah.
right up here as well. So there's lots of stuff to walk to up here. It's enough, I guess. If you're really looking to go out constantly, young in life, like maybe a different neighborhood would be better. But
it's a walk down the hill, or an Uber, or
that's it.
Or scooter these
That's
days.
right.
Yeah.
The rare occasion you want to go out for something big, Fremont is right here.
I think that's a great way to put it, though. It's enough. It's like if you're like, hey, I don't want to be, like in Shoreline where I'm gotta drive to everything.
Right.
I want some things walkable, but I don't need to be maybe in the thick of it like I'm in Belltown or something like that. I've got a coffee shop, I've got a couple bars, I've got a couple restaurants.
That's right.
I'm good.
Yeah,
right.
There's a really nice new Safeway that just opened. It's brand new. There's Trader Joe's, of course, and then there's Ken's Market that everybody loves. So there's plenty of places to get groceries and food as well. So, yeah, I mean, basically everything you need is here, and I think that's the joke sometimes is like, don't have a reason to leave the hill.
Right.
And I primarily work from home now. I go in the office one day a week, but I primarily work from home, and I'll realize sometimes like, man, I've gone like 6-7 days without leaving Queen Anne.
Right.
Yeah.
Just haven't had a reason to. I just, our kids play Little League, and they're, in the Little League here in town or in Queen Anne. The schools in the neighborhood. A lot of the things we want to do are right walking distance. So, we'll go multiple days in a row and stay in the neighborhood. Not intentionally, it just happens that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive selling point, right? Where you got everything within you, right? People pay to be close to, like, amenities, right? And it's kind of cool to describe what you describe, which is the 3 distinct locations, right? I'm like North Capitol Hill. I feel like I can go to 7 or 8, but but the fact that there are still 3 here is true. Those are all really kind of distinct locations, which are kind of cool and fun to walk to.
Right.
And then you said this location in particular with this incredible view, by the way, which you can't see, but you will see at some point.
Right.
We're close to Fremont. So we talked about top of the hill, Lower Queen Anne. So let's talk about some other pockets here. You've got the south slope of Queen Anne, which if you got some baller money, right, you can probably an average is like $6 million, I would say, for some of the nicer homes on the south slope of Queen Anne. They have incredible views of downtown, the Space Needle, Elliott Bay, and they don't sell that often.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of beautiful older
homes that stick with families like over the years. Yeah, but it's incredible over there, and I think a lot of people don't talk about West Queen Anne, which.
Talk about West Queen Anne.
You might have to go up the hill, like a little bit further, a little bit of hike. But what you have over there is like, I would almost call like townhome central a little bit. Lots of townhomes have been built over there. When what's great about that is if you have kids, you have access to the top rated elementary schools here in Queen Anne. You can hop up the hill to the park, and there's a Whole Foods close by just across 15th.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's another option for people that, maybe you're going to be looking at $600,000 condos up to, $1.2 million or so townhomes.
Right.
And then, of course, it goes up from there to single family.
Exactly.
And it's its own distinct neighborhood. And I think people who live there, not a lot of people go, when I'm moving to Queen Anne, that's like the defined neighborhood that they go to. So that kind of sits on its own.
Right. I think you mentioned before, like the word starter home, typically not used when speaking about Queen Anne, right? So just to speak plainly, like this is not an inexpensive area to move into, right? But there's a lot of good reasons for it because it is coveted. It's this perfect kind of prized location where you're, near Seattle, quick to downtown, quick to really anywhere. But yeah, the real estate here, you can spend as much as you want. But I think, I've sold a couple like condos in Queen Anne for people buying their first property, and it's a good fit for people trying to get into something where, okay, I want to buy real estate that I can count on and want to hold on for a long time. And, kind of be in this transition where maybe they're, they don't want to be in the thick of it, but they want to get into like a nicer neighborhood and kind of start living that lifestyle. So I think it's, it's not, people hear Queen Anne, they go, oh, that's got to be $6 million. It's not always that case. You know what I mean? You don't it's
just
not the
$1.5
only
million
option.
on the upper
Just $1 million, just a cool $1.5 million. That's all you need. Yeah.
That, that's okay. We have a lot of professionals, right? And we have a lot of great companies, and this is why it's a desirable place to live.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's becoming more of a range, as you mentioned. There are, some townhomes that are getting built on some of the lots where it was one home and now it's two or even four in some cases.
Yeah.
Right.
And, creating just some more access to the neighborhood for more and more people. There's also a giant, they're not for sale, but a new rental building just went up, the Gables on Queen Anne Ave, which I don't know the exact number, but it's hundreds of apartments. Like,
And that's pretty big, right?
it's massive. It's honestly mind-blowing how it went from one Safeway with a parking lot to this massive, I don't know how many unit apartment building, plus the Safeway, plus a couple other stores. So
Right. Yeah, that old Safeway with the land and the parking lot existed for a longer time, right? And then Trader Joe's showed up, and then they started to develop, and you got the Zeke's building.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a big change here in Seattle. Is just creating more housing opportunity and density. So that creates like diversity there, right? Where again, it's not all. Like you said, it's not all just families raising kids. Right?
Yeah, you
There's
get
lots
a
of
mix of
singles up here who want to live up here.
Yeah.
Everything's so accessible, right, to downtown if that's where you work, or even if you lived on the east side,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're really close to 99. Our house, our street in particular, is extremely close, but no matter where you are in Queen Anne, it's relatively close to get to 99 or even down to Mercer to get onto 5. So, if you have to go out of the city or, over to the east side or down south or up north, it's pretty easy. It's remarkable how quickly we can get on 99 and go kind of anywhere, even out to the mountains. We go out to the mountains a lot.
Yeah.
And to go down 99 onto 90 out to, kind of Issaquah, Snoqualmie area, it's a breeze. I mean, it's really easy to get there. And that's a big selling point for us. I should have mentioned that earlier. Why we moved back up here was to be closer to the outdoors. And we love the ability to get up to the mountains for skiing and snowboarding and out to a lot of the trails to go hiking and mountain biking. Got really into mountain biking recently. And Seattle offers that. The Seattle area really offers that, and it's world class in a lot of ways, and accessible. And coming from California in the Bay Area, also had great world class options there, but much further, much more of a distance that you had to travel in general.
Yeah.
Mountain biking was a little closer, but skiing, snowboarding was all the way out to Tahoe usually. We're here, you can get to Snoqualmie in an hour. And skiing Pass and Crystal, 2 hours.
Quick hop and then ski for a few hours and then head back. Yeah.
And home, well before dinner or even before lunch if you're really ambitious. So that's been a big selling point. We love that about the Seattle area as well. It's the access to the outdoors are incredible.
Working from home on the slopes.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. There you go.
There's been a few of those for sure. Oh yeah. Wi-Fi's good enough on the lifts. You can still get back to people. Those are the best days.
Yeah, that's incredible. What do you like to? What's like some of your favorite spots for the kids around here? What do they like to do?
Yeah. I mentioned a few earlier, but some of the other things that we tend to do with them is we take them to the parks a lot. There's David Rogers Parks here. What's affectionately referred to as Little Hal and Big Hal, which are the two parks on Hal Street on one side and the other side of the Ave.
Yeah, that's super close, right? Yeah.
Pretty close, yeah. And Little League and soccer was over there, the neighborhood versions of those, which has been great. And, we'll like I mentioned, we take them to the library pretty frequently. That's a favorite. But then they love to go to the Blue Highway Games, which is a really cool spot here in Queen Anne. That
is that on the Ave, Queen Anne Ave?
It's on Queen Anne Ave. Yeah, it's right there, kind of on the main drag, just I guess just north of Boston. It's been there for a long time, and they have it's a really serious game store. They have all manner of games. People who are like really into board games primarily, but they also have a whole bunch of games in there that people come in and just play. So you can grab a game off the shelf and sit for an hour, almost like a coffee shop. And play with one of your kids. And then, of course, they have all manner of like really cool games for kids. And, they do tournaments for, Dungeons and Dragons and Pokemon and all these things that my kids are starting to get into a little bit. But that's a really cool little hidden gem.
And you have a drink there?
Not at the game store.
Well, you never know these days.
Coffee.
A lot of
in order to
breweries-
get Mater to go to a D&D tournament, you got to give him a margarita. That's basically working.
Not really my jam, but they're into it over there, as you can imagine. It's a good spot. So that's a little bit of a hidden gem. We go to Zeke's a lot. That's one of our favorite spots here in the neighborhood.
Zeke's. Dragon pizza for me.
Oh yeah, the Wood
Maybe not for
Busher.
the kids, but yeah.
They're at the kitchen sink. They got some great pizzas there. That place is amazing, and they do have drinks at Zeke's. Quite a beer selection. And Big Mac's Burger Company is right near there as well.
Oh yeah, right. That's a
burger
is that like
and
a
fries
smash
place.
burger kind of place?
Yeah, it's in that
They got a
area.
big smash burger trend here, and it was I think done by the owners of Eden.
Yeah, that's right.
The restaurant,
That's
right?
exactly right.
But
Yeah.
Eden Hill?
Eden Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to
Yeah.
be called Eden Hill Provisions, and then it became more of this burger joint.
Oh, okay.
like,
Yeah.
kind of fancy
Yeah.
burgers,
Yeah.
but still oriented towards kids.
Yeah.
Or families,
Cool.
I should say. So that's a good spot they like. There's Cafe Hagen is great. That's a little less for kids, but just another great spot we like to go to. We will frequent pretty much any place that opens up here on the Ave at least once, and then we'll find our favorites and keep going.
Right. Okay. And so I know your kids go to private school, right? Just down the street, which is fantastic as far as location goes, right? So your thoughts on the public schools versus private schools? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of discussion in our family as to what was the right way to go. We think that this school is just a really good fit for our kids, but the public schools up here are fantastic, and it was really just more of a specific criteria academically that they kind of fit into this school a little bit better, but generally the public schools up here are fantastic. We did all the tours and talked to the principals and a lot of the early teachers in kindergarten. And we're really, open to that direction, and arguably maybe could have gone that direction and saved some money, but it's a toss up. They're all great schools. They're all pretty close. I think the big difference with the school that we send our kids to is just a little bit higher student to teacher ratio or teacher to student ratio. There's more teachers per classroom.
Right. Yeah. Small classrooms.
Classes
nice,
are a little
yeah.
smaller, and just a real focus on academics and getting the kids ahead. So it's been a good fit for the kids. We love it. And it's a short walk from our house, so that's
Can't
a
beat that.
plus.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think for those people who don't know, the elementary schools in the right neighborhoods and that are most desirable can be very highly rated here in Seattle. So the public elementary schools are really good. Then as kids maybe get into the middle ages and then more maybe years that are kind of maybe shaping their future, we see a lot of kids who might move if they're able to move to a private school instead. So Isabella went from the path of John Hay Elementary public, then kind of a middle school that offered kind of advanced AP type classes, and then she went to Seattle Prep in North Capitol Hill,
Right.
which has been a good journey for her. So,
With the Seattle school districts, sometimes it's like you said, where the high schools historically have been more problematic or lower rated, I should to put it
or lower
politically,
rated, right? Yeah,
but that's kind of always people who live in Capitol Hill,
Right.
Queen Anne, anything like Central. A lot of times you'll see that switch going to private school. But I have seen, though, in the last, 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of these schools have been, increasing better and better and better. I was born in Ballard, and Ballard High School used to be one of the worst, and now it's one of the best, right? So I think, the public school system in Seattle is getting stronger and stronger. It's always a battle. But
the thing about Ballard, which is really cool, is there's a big injection of money for Microsoft into the STEM programs, so science, technology, engineering, and math, and now it's one of the top STEM schools.
Right.
And that has really kind of elevated the program in our world of technology, the demand for people who understand technology. Roosevelt is another school where I know a lot of people are, want their kids to get into. So the high schools definitely are not bad. It just depends on kind of the path that makes sense for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, the recent decision to keep the funding, as it were, in the school system and not close down a lot of the schools also makes a big difference. Because at the time we made the decision a few years ago to start at SCDS, our kids go to Seattle Country Day. But at that time, there was a lot of discussion and seeming direction that was going to be shutting down some of the schools, including one of the ones in Queen Anne, was sort of the rumor at the time.
Yeah.
So that played into our decision a little bit too. They may start somewhere and it may get shut down, or it may be underfunded, or the classrooms are going to get really full. But I think those concerns have mostly been alleviated, and I think that the city worked out the budget in such a way that there's not going to be any closures up here. And I think they're only closing 1 or 2 in the whole city. That I think it was slated for a lot more originally.
That's a big change, right? That's huge, right?
Yeah, just the last couple of years. I don't have you might have the specifics on it, but I think there was a large number that was planned, and they whittled it down to just a few. Right.
Yeah. So that's a good change for us, for sure.
But that played into our decision as well. So I think now, it's more of a toss-up than maybe it was even a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line is a lot of people there's great schools all around. And some people like a Seattle vibe and, want to be in a Queen Anne or a Wallingford or a Ballard or, other areas like that. Then there's the East Side vibe as well.
Yeah.
I've had clients who like raise their kids here, then did part of their raising of their kids in Bellevue, then moved back to here and vice versa. So, but everything is so close and accessible, right? But Queen Anne being one of those most desirable spots, it's really good to kind of deep dive into it and have you on the show, Chris.
Yeah.
So really appreciate that. So I think for fun, let's end with some kind of rapid fire questions. So,
Here we go. Okay.
So get ready, and you don't have, it doesn't have to necessarily be like, in Queen Anne, but let's go best place to grab a beer.
I'm going to try and stick with Queen Anne. I think the best place to grab a beer is Hilltop. I like Hilltop Pub.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Queen Anne Targie's.
Now Targie's?
It's a good one, too. It's a good one, too.
Yeah.
There it is. Or dive bars here, too. We can find a
Old
couple.
Stove Brewing in Fremont, or excuse me, right there on the border of Lower Queen Anne and Fremont. So that's your kind of outdoor brewery where it's fun to go to as well. Okay, best spot for a date night.
Ooh, good one. On the hill, we really like Betty. Betty is a cool spot. That's kind of on the south end of Queen Anne Ave. Grappa's also really good. Eden Hill was also hard to beat.
Yeah.
And How to Cook a Wolf. Actually, in reverse order. I think How to Cook a Wolf is at the top.
Ethan Stoll. Yeah. Can't beat that.
How to Cook a Wolf was going to be my answer too. The interior of that is just, it's super cool.
Yeah.
I took a date there once, and before I knew anything about food or restaurants or anything, I was like, this looks cool. Yeah, I'm going to go there.
Great spot.
Yeah,
Great.
so I'm going to mix it up and go Lower Queen Anne and go with Sal y Limon, which is more like, not a romantic date night spot. But good margaritas and good Mexican.
It's a good time.
You can't go wrong with that. Okay. Best place to catch a sunset.
Ooh, sunset. Let's see. There are quite a few. Kerry Park is hard to beat. Kerry Park is beautiful. By Cracky Park faces the other direction, so it's got great views, but the sunset's kind of on the other side. I think, I'll just say, our deck is a pretty good place to catch a sunset as well.
Don't disagree with that.
Here a lot. But anything facing west, really. So I think those are the top, though. Kerry Park's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. Iconic Kerry Park is hard to beat. Yeah.
Yes.
Remarkable.
Got an answer?
I mean, I'd test it out on this deck for sure. I think that might beat it, but
yeah, this is incredible. Let's see. Yeah, friends with a great rooftop deck. That's the best place to
exactly
catch a sunset. Okay, let's see if I have any more here. Favorite concert at Climate Pledge
Ooh, favorite
or event.
Event. Let's see. I have seen many things there. One of the shows I saw a few years ago that was pretty impressive was Odessa. They're a Seattle-based, kind of electronic group. That was amazing. We've also seen Pearl Jam there, so sticking with the Seattle theme. We've been there for games and other events as well. The Kraken's pretty awesome to watch there as well.
Yeah.
So those were some of the favorites.
So four best events or so. How about you, Michael?
Oh, man. Well, I've seen Pearl Jam there a couple times, which is awesome as like a Seattleite. I haven't seen a Kraken game yet there.
So there you go, Pearl Jam.
Yeah, Pearl Jam.
All right.
How's that?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Seattle Sonics. What used to be
that's Kirina.
Said Climate Pledge.
Yeah. But they're going to return and be at Climate Pledge again. I have faith that the basketball team will be back.
Right, I think so. The city could definitely support it. It's a good sports town.
Yeah. Well, cool, everybody. Hope you got a good understanding of what the whole Queen Anne lifestyle is like, and you got a good flavor for it. So if you have any questions, of course, reach out to us, Wagner Real Estate Group, Maynard, Michael. Shoot us a DM, like our content below if you found any value of this. And thank you, Chris, again, for being on the show.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Maynard.
All right.
Great
well,
chat.
let's see if we can get these shades up and get an awesome view. All right. We'll do that soon.